A scam is said to be a dishonest scheme, a fraud, or a swindle. Scams are abound, and many of us have been unwitting victims of one scam or another in our lives. These are 10 of the biggest scams of all time. Gregor MacGregor was a Scottish soldier and confidence trickster who convinced hundreds of people in Britain and France that he was the prince of the fictional nation of Payos, just off the coast of Honduras. People invested in so-called Payosian government bonds, which made him wildly rich. No less than 250 of his creators and financial backers even immigrated to the fictional land, only to find uninhabited jungle. To make things worse, more than half of them died during the ill-fated journey. Gregor MacGregor was never convicted of fraud, and eventually died and was buried with military honours in Venezuela, which is an end fitting for a prince. Ferguson was a Scottish actor who became the most famous salesman of monuments ever. He was able to convince an American tourist that Trafalgar Square could be bought for £6,000. Also sold Big Ben for £1,000 and even secured a down payment on Buckingham Palace for £2,000. He moved to America and soon had a Texan convinced he had leased the White House for $100,000 a year, while an Australian thought he had bought the Statue of Liberty. Though caught and convicted, Ferguson was still able to die a free and rich man in the US state of California. Leah, Margaret, and Kate Fox were the New York-based siblings at the center of the spiritualism movement of the mid-19th century. The two younger sisters claimed to be able to converse with spirits through a series of knocking codes. The Fox sisters became fabulously rich as their fame spread. Eventually, Margaret and then Kate confessed that their spiritual knockings were nothing more than the rapping sounds of them snapping their toes or other joints. They all died in abject poverty within 5 years of the confessions. The story, however, goes to show that a scam doesn't have to be overly complex in order to be successful. Photographs released in 1920 appeared to show two young cousins, Frances Griffith and Elsie Wright, playing with fairies in a garden in Cottingley Village. The English photos took the world by storm. The creator of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, believed the photos and became a staunch advocate of their veracity. Harry Houdini, on the other hand, was very public in condemning them as fakes. Only in 1981 did Elsie confess that the fairies were indeed fakes and nothing more than paper cutouts held up by hairpins. Turns out Houdini was right. Not all scams are to rip people off or for someone to get rich quick. In World War II, the Allies devised an entire fake army, including fake trucks and inflatable Sherman tanks. This scam was created as a diversion to fool the Germans into believing that the D-Day invasion would take place in northern France and not in Normandy. Hitler was completely duped, and that is how the Allied forces were able to invade the beaches of Normandy in June 1944. And the rest, as they say, is history. This was a monumental scam for the common good. Two cousins, Philip Arnold and John Slack, perpetuated a massive fraud when they arrived in San Francisco in 1871, claiming to have found a field in Wyoming that literally sparkled with diamonds. Rich investors saw the field for themselves and bought out the cousins for the then huge sum of $660,000. It was a giant fake. The cousins had merely salted the field with $35,000 worth of cheap diamond cast-off diamonds. Most of them from South America anyway. Some of America's richest men at the time were left with very red faces. The financial scam that is today commonly known as the Ponzi scheme was named after this Italian immigrant. In the early 1920s, Ponzi made a fortune whereby clients were promised a 50% profit within 45 days or 100% profit within 90 days by purchasing discounted postal replies. All he was really doing was paying older investors by using the monies of newer investors. Ponzi was not the first con artist to devise the financial scam known as a pyramid scheme, but his name became synonymous with it. Using Lucien Riviere as his alias, Wells was able to achieve what is probably the biggest ever banking scam by a single person. This he achieved in Paris in 1910 with his private bank. 6,000 investors lost millions in his scam, which promised a return of no less than 365% per annum. He He was eventually arrested in England and sentenced to 5 years prison in France. Wells had previously been famous for breaking the casino in Monte Carlo not once, but twice. We'll never know if that was due to another of his cons or just sheer good luck. This scam is not a single scam of note. Rather, it is an original type of scam that has spawned countless scams to the present day, hence its inclusion here. The Spanish prisoners scam dates back to the 16th century, which it was claimed that a wealthy person had been imprisoned in Spain and needed financial aid to be rescued, which is why people were asked to contribute funds. Sound familiar? Modern variations of the Spanish prisoners scam included the infamous Nigerian money order or 419 online scams. We have left what is possibly the biggest scam of all time for last. Constantine, the Roman emperor, signed a decree on his deathbed that basically transferred the whole western part of the Roman Empire, including Rome, to the Pope. The decree was used for centuries by the Catholic Church to justify its authority over most of Europe. It wasn't until around 1450 that the document was declared a forgery by the Italian humanist and priest Lorenzo Valla. The document was said to be full of anachronisms. Although contentious to this day, it could easily be the most culturally and socially significant scam ever recorded. For more top lists just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out our other top lists. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks for learning.